So hey there, welcome back to part 2 of the display base build. We're continuing with the painting, just a little more Vallejo surface primer, and then we're going to move into the actual color. As I was digging through my paints and things, I was drawn to, I think much like this entire little project, I was drawn to paints I had already mixed up previously for other projects. Like this one is one of like 3 different rust blends I had created for my military bulldozer build. I don't know why I'm being drawn to this sort of reddish brown paint at the moment, but I think it looks pretty good on here. And it's working really well with the baking soda texture on these 3D prints. Starting with that same base color, I wanted to do the stone piers in a slightly different shade. So to get that effect, I undercoated them. So I gave them a base coat of a lighter brown-ish. The color is, that's really weird. Where does red stop and brown start? I mean, color theory is a fascinating topic in and of itself, but I mean, who's the arbiter of what's the difference between reddish brown or brownish red? I mean, who knows? If I need a particular color, I've got software that I can use to extract that color from the world around me and put it into a digital realm. But blending paints to get a particular color is still a little mystifying to me. I mean, I know the basics of, RGB and, if you want pink, you add white to red and all of that jazz, but, it's really still very subjective, color is. That said, the tonal difference between the stone piers and the 3D printed parts is intentional, so it's meant to look that way. But we're going to tie those back together a little more here by blending some lighter colors onto both the piers and the pillars. I'm also really happy with the way these look so far. Weathering is a process that it just terrifies me just a little bit, because you're putting paint on an object and immediately it looks crappy. It's like, what have I done? You just got to keep going and adding more and making it look crappier and crappier until it just sort of suddenly stops looking crappy and you're able to move on to the next color or the next part of the object you're working on. Over the last few years modeling, I've been drawn more and more to the painting and weathering of the model than, the actual building of the model. Although I very much enjoy both, but it's like I'm building the model so that I can paint it, as opposed to just the building the model in and of itself. It's like the old artist from the Renaissance and on, they didn't have a Hobby Lobby that they could go and pick up a canvas at. They had to make their own canvas. So they were like, I need to make a surface that I can paint. So that's kind of how I feel about building models now, is I'm making a surface that I can paint. One of, if not the most common technique used in painting scale models is masking. And when I first started out, I thought I had to have the brand, the thing that was made by the company that made the thing that but it's not. What I rapidly discovered, being a practicing tightwad, was that the objects and items used in model making were typically not originally developed for model making. They were for other reasons. Like the tape that I'm using here is it's a Japanese masking tape. It's imported from Japan, and I can get like 8 or 9 rolls of this stuff for $8 or $9. And I think Tamiya is probably the most popular brand of this type of tape, and I can't functionally tell a big difference between the two of them, other than the price, which is jaw-dropping once you compare the two of them. That said, the application I'm using it for here was not the best. I mean, this stuff shines when you're using it on a flat surface that, you can rub it in and get a really, really crisp line with this stuff, which is what it is intended for. And I could have made this stuff work better here if I had just taken a minute, slowed down, and rubbed it in good around the bottom edge, you know, but didn't, and a little paint got up underneath it, but it's nothing that can't be fixed. For the ground, I'm starting out with a lighter base coat that we're going to build up into sort of, I don't know, reverse shadows, I guess, could be a way to put that. So the higher areas are going to be darker than the lower areas, at least in the beginning. Sorry, I had paused it like a big dummy. I know better than that. I know better than that. Anyway. Just, you know, doing some stuff. And I'm alternating between some, just some sponging, some dabbing, and some dry brushing. I'm getting ready to go in with a little lighter coat now. I want to I want this to be soupy and wet on purpose. It's turning pink. I'm gonna add some more earth to it. So the pigment powders are a great way to add color without adding volume to your paints. So, you know, carrying on with this process, I using just different colors, whatever strikes me. It's like a little of this, a little of that. I want to highlight this. I want to blend that, and just, you know, just go with it and work with it, and, you know, and eventually it'll go from the ugly down to, hey, that looks pretty good. And I'm getting there. I'm almost to the that looks pretty good. So I got to the point where I wanted to add a unifying wash to the entire. This is the environment as you're imagining it. This is the wind and the weather and the debris, and it's just the color of what's going to be on it. And my first attempt was not good. It was not the right color, not even close. That's not it. I see. I gotcha. I really like the Vallejo pigment powders for this sort of thing. It needs to go on as a spray because a brush is not going to be, it's going to be too, that's what I'm looking for, it's going to be too splotchy. And the airbrush it's just not, I don't know about running these pigment powders through an airbrush. And, you know, cleaning is not moving too fast to clean anything. So grabbed a little aerosol spray bottle I'd used for this sort of thing before, and again, works great. Gonna have to dry it and then paint over it. Also, you need to go back and fix your mistakes. So I got a little lighter paint on place it didn't go. So it's one of the benefits I find of if you're doing a custom color for a project is making a lot more than you need, because you typically need a lot more than you think you do. So in this case, I ended up with a lot extra, but it's, again, you can come back and fix whatever, because you don't have to go back and try and mix and match paint again. You've already got it. After a little more touch-up and between the pillars and the surface or the ground, we're about ready to start with the wash. Now, I've used this little bottle, spritz bottle, before for similar things. You know, usually I've run some polyurethane through it, done, you know, just whatever needed to be squirted out. I didn't want to get the airbrush out. Wasn't that critical. And we're getting kind of a cool marbling effect. A weathered marbling effect. Yeah, so Just needed to kind of wet the surface with whatever it was. These little spritz bottles, and I've got a couple of them that I've done this with. It worked great. Now, the bottle, the little pump on the top is starting to wear out, so it was a little difficult to get it to go through the nozzle, but it did, and went on really nice. I put it on extra wet so that it actually would puddle up in the low areas, giving it that, I don't know, that sort of weathered appearance, like, you know, like a rocky seashore, some sort of thing, you know, where there's little crags and crannies where water would stay behind after the tide has gone out. So there you have it. There is my new display base. At the time I'm recording this audio, I have started on the Bandai's ATST. Is it ATST? The little two-legged walker. It's not little, but yeah, the two-legged walker. So hopefully that'll be the image you see on the front once I get some nice pictures of it done. But you know, hey, listen, thank you very, very much for hanging out with me, and you know, if you like this sort of a thing, give me a thumbs up. Maybe consider subscribing, and you know, go make something.